Portents of Fear is a horror fiction podcast which is intended for mature audiences. Discretion is advised. Welcome, Fearlings, to another weird and horrifying tale made just for you. I am your host, Michulhu, and I'll be your guide into the macabre and mysterious. Tonight, we continue the zombie apocalypse with The Death Cloud Files 2. Before we get started, take a moment to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single terrifying story. Velma Wallace, 52, Survivor Camp, Catalina, California, 10 p.m. 2 years since the Undead outbreak. Velma waited next to the stage as Burbank spoke to the other camp leaders. The plan was simple. Return to the lab, recover the cure, hopefully find and kill Saul. Bonus points if she could save the United States. All she needed was 4 people, mainly to act as human shields. The people she worked for, the ones who owned everything from $100 million yachts to gigantic mansions, including the bunkers under them, those were the people she needed to make happy. The one thing that bugged her, that she didn't understand, was why the zombies were still active after 2 years. XV3-7 should have stopped animating flesh 6 months after a person was infected, but Undead were still washing up on shore. It didn't make sense. She missed something in its creation, and that bothered her. She was one of the top minds in the world. She had to get back to her lab. She also really hoped Saul would be there so she could liquefy him. That's why I think we should help Velma with this mission. Velma, why don't you tell us more about the plan? Burbank asked. Here goes nothing, thought Velma. Team Save the World. El Segundo Beach, 5 a.m. Mission Day. The first rays of light crept across Los Angeles. There were hundreds of dead in and out of the water at the beach. The city itself felt like a bloated corpse, lifeless and swarming with parasites. The air was thick with flies gorging on the rotting flesh. A small boat cut through the water, the tide helping it along to shore. In it was Alison, Burbank, Velma, Fenn, and Leland. They called themselves Team Save the World as a joke. They paddled slowly, trying to keep away from the corpses in the water. Alison surveyed the bodies as the boat got closer to shore. They'd paddled the last bit to avoid making noise, and her arms felt like old rubber. She wondered how many of these people were actually dead. She couldn't be sure. The boat rode a wave onto the sand. With her paddle, she gently hoisted herself out of the boat. The bodies reminded her of a maze of alligators lying in wait, perfectly still and very hungry. She didn't buy what Velma was selling completely. It all seemed too far-fetched to be true, but simply surviving seemed like a waste of time. She knew Velma was hiding things, and that the answers were in the lab, even if the cure wasn't. But on the off chance she could save the world, it was worth the risk. She gave the signal for the rest to disembark. Alison, 20, Catalina Island, 7 a.m. 1 month earlier. The sun felt good that morning, and oddly enough, so did Alison. Waves gently crashed, gulls sang as they patrolled for food. The beach looked like a postcard. She allowed herself to forget zombies were now a thing and that life would never be the same for a moment. A wonderful moment. Burbank, Fenn, Leland, and of course Velma, who wanted the mission in the first place, all stood in a circle around her. Each had washed in the waters and were clad in their underwear only. Their bodies were like hard wood, lean, strong muscles, ropey and taut. They needed to be in top shape if they were going back to the city. Near the edge of the sand, 40 people from the camp waited. Alison told them they were needed to help with training. Okay, we have 4 weeks till our mission. I know you're tired and sore, but we have to be in the best shape of our lives to survive this, Alison bellowed. Velma, who was 30 years older than all of them, felt like a sack of bruised bananas. 3 days ago, she lost a tooth. When this was over and she was back where she belonged, she was going to eat more cake than anyone in the history of time. Mounds of chocolate cake with raspberry filling. Let's review what we know about the zombies. First, their vision isn't that great. Maybe a foot ahead of them at the most. They make up for this with an amazing sense of smell and keen hearing. We all remember Hank's story about how they bathed in zombie blood, thinking they could hide their smell and walk through without worry, but as they waded through a mass of groaners, they were attacked, and only Hank got out. Either they heard those people's heartbeats, their breathing, or were able to smell the blood pumping in their veins underneath their camouflage, but they knew. We must be silent but deadly. Fenn started to laugh, and then it spread around the circle. Alison realized how she had phrased it and laughed too. A 5th grade fart joke broke the tension. Okay, sorry. That didn't come out right. Today we will be, as a group, running up and down this beach. You may have noticed that we have a lot of people from the camp sitting over there. They're playing the parts of zombies today. The game is simple. I've set up an obstacle course leading from here all the way to the center of the camp. Our zombies will be hiding. If you make any loud noise, they will attack. If you are touched, you lose. Wait, all these people can see. They might cheat, Velma complained. You're right, they might, but I've instructed them to only respond to noise. You must follow the red arrows I've placed along the course. If you make a sound, you must run. Don't get tagged. If a zombie gets you, start over. Your training isn't done till you can get through the course 3 times in a row without being caught, Alison instructed. What? 3 times in a row? That's a bit extreme, Alison, Leland bemoaned. Man up, you're our Marine. This should be a walk in the park. All right, zombies, please take your places. Remember, tag only, no biting this time, Sarah. Team Save the World, El Segundo Beach, 5:10 a.m. Mission Day. Clad in black, with Alison taking lead, the group cut across the beach, keeping as much room between them and the lifeless bodies as possible. The smell of decay and salt air turned their stomachs. Halfway up the beach, a desiccated hand sprang at Velma's calf, barely missing it. She jumped sideways, almost stumbling over another corpse that began to rise from the sand. It groaned as it lurched to life. "Run!" she screamed. Everyone took off towards the parking lot. 2 waves of zombies began to flood in behind them like the Red Sea of the Bible. Fen was in the back. He could feel them straining to grab him. Fen, 24, Catalina, 10 a.m., 14 months earlier. Fen stood at the entrance to the Marines' Central Command tent, or at least what used to be the Central Command tent. Burbank stood in the middle of the area. It was completely empty. At least they left all these nice tents, Fen offered. Small miracles, she replied. Should I get Peter? No, Fen. He left with the Marines and me holding the bag. I guess the mission in LA failed. I mean, they're coming back, right? To evacuate the island, he asked. No, that was never going to happen. They told us that the contagion had thrown the government into chaos. We'd have to make it here for a while till there was a place to go back to. Why do you think we got rid of all those people? She questioned. To make room and save resources, Fen replied. Right. Resources, according to them, are tight. So all the camps in the U.S. are culling their old, disabled, or sick. But you can't tell anyone. It's bad out there. We have to make do with what we've got. I won't tell anyone. I'm going to have to tell Alison about most of this. She already hates me. Half the camp does. I'm not looking forward to that conversation. Come here, Fen. Fen approached. Closer. He nervously followed the direction. Close your eyes. He did. The first punch sent him to the ground. Then Burbank started kicking him in the stomach and chest. She screamed with anger. He tried to take the fetal position to protect himself, but she kicked his shins instead. Rolling him over, she got on his chest, pinning his arms to the side. Burbank gripped his throat and started choking him. He wheezed out, "Please, stop!" She let go and started punching him till he was bloody and unconscious. She poured water over his face. Blood streamed down into the dirt. He coughed, the cold water jump-starting his mind. Burbank took hold of his shirt and pulled him to his feet. "Why?" Fen gurgled. His legs wobbled underneath him. "I need someone I can trust. You're it, Fen. But know this. You ever betray me, if you ever don't do exactly what I say, next time I'll beat you to death. Got it?" I got it. A large smile came across her sunburned face. She pulled him close and kissed his blood-lined lips, shoving her tongue down his throat. "Now I'm going to show you what happens when you're good," she hissed in his ear. Team Save the World, El Segundo Beach, 5:20 a.m. Mission Day. Alison reached the parking lot first, spinning around to see the situation. Burbank had an infected running right behind her. Taking aim, she fired. The bullet whizzed by Burbank's left cheek and hit the infected right in the nose. It dropped, tripping up the undead behind it. The shock of the bullet whizzing by Burbank's head caused her to stop. Fen came up from behind and grabbed her hand, dragging her along. "Move!" he yelled as the wave of putrid death closed in. Her adrenaline spiked and she began to run. Back at the parking lot, Alison was beset by 3 mobile corpses. Her gunfire had drawn unwanted attention. In a blur of movement, she shot one in the head from 5 feet away, dropped the rifle, swung around and sunk a blade into one coming up behind her. The third ran at her full bore. She moved at the very last second, tripping it and slamming her boot through its skull, shattering it like an ostrich egg. The sound made her smile. She waved at the others. They had put some distance between themselves and the undead. They had just a few moments to coordinate. "We're sitting ducks out here. We need to get to that building's roof," Alison yelled. The sun changed the sky from black to brilliant oranges and deep purples. The morning light revealed just how screwed they were. "You could have killed me with that shot," Burbank complained. "But I didn't. Now move." The team started to run as a pack, taking shots at encroaching undead, clearing a path. Throaty moans and gravelly gurgles filled the air. More shots flew, some hitting, some not. One jumped, tackling Fen from the side. His shotgun skittered a few feet away. Velma, against her better judgment, kicked it off him, shot it, and helped him to his feet. "Thank you," he sputtered. "Just move or we're both breakfast," she snapped. He grabbed his gun and ran. Alison, 18, Catalina, 9 p.m., Contagion Day. Alison, wrapped in a blanket, sat on the beach looking at LA across the water. Fires blazed up and down the coastline. She'd been trying to get a call through to her parents, but the lines were jammed. She'd cried all her tears for the day, her eyes swollen with grief. "Here you go, kid. I scored some hot cocoa. They're setting up a camp in the town for all us refugees," Sam said with a kind smile. She took the cup, blew on it, and began to sip. "Look, I'm sure this will all be over soon. The military is more than likely already on its way," he reassured. "I can't get through to my parents. They live in Chinatown. I hope they're all right. I'm sure they are. As soon as the news hit, they probably started evacuating. I know cell service is jammed, but what about a text?" She held up her ancient flip phone. "My dad thinks smartphones are too expensive. I can have one when I get a job. Don't beg for things, work for them." God, I'd love to hear his stupid voice right now. "It's okay. I'm sure they're fine." "Are they first generation?" "No, but their parents were, and we live in the same house they bought like 60 years ago. I hate to say it, but I'm glad my grandmother isn't alive. She passed last year. She was too sick to move, and my parents wouldn't have left her behind." "Sounds like your parents are good people." Alison took a long sip of her cocoa. The warmth slid into her stomach, and she couldn't help but smile. "They are. A bit old school, but I love them. I got us a tent and signed up for kitchen duty tomorrow morning. You want to join me?" Sam asked, wishing his hot cocoa was gin. "Yeah, helping out sounds good. It's what my parents would have wanted." "Would have? You mean would want. They're still alive. No more negative talk, girlie. While we're out here, we look out for each other. Deal?" Sam put his hand out. "Deal. Thanks for saving me, Sam." She leaned over and gave him a side hug. "My pleasure." Team Save the World, El Segundo Beach, 5:30 a.m., Mission Day. Alison reached the first building. Its windows were smashed out, and she could see a few undead stirring inside. "If we can get to the roof and hide, they'll settle down," she thought. Without telling anyone the plan, she leaped through the broken window and started stabbing the undead in their skulls. The sound of metal-piercing brain made her smile again. Leland followed a few seconds later, taking out the remaining zombies. Alison, slicked with sweat and blood, turned to him. "Thanks. Let's get to the roof," she said. "Lead the way." Velma, Fen, and Burbank made it through the window next, zombies in tow. They quickly bolted up the stairs after Leland. The infected followed, climbing the stairs like drunk toddlers. Burbank slammed the roof door behind them. "Shit! I didn't think they could climb stairs. How the hell are we going to get off this roof?" Burbank growled. "It's 2 feet to the next roof. We'll just jump over and go down. Now be quiet. Can you manage that, Burbank?" Alison sneered. Zombies began pounding on the door. Burbank got right into Alison's face. "You're not in charge, Alison. I am," she snapped. Alison punched her hard in the jaw. "No, you're not. That was the deal, remember? I lead, you follow. Now shut up and sit the hell down before I throw you off this goddamn roof," Alison barked. Her expression made it clear that she meant it. Burbank stewed as she rubbed her jaw and joined the others next to the roof's lip. The undead surrounded the building. Their throat chortles and wails for flesh sounded like a dissonant choir. Fen clamped his hands to his ears. Leland was oddly calm, seeming almost zen. The pounding on the door became more aggressive. Velma waved at Alison to get her attention, then pointed at the other roof. Alison nodded. It was time to go. The door could give at any minute. Fen was the last to jump across the small gap right as the door gave way. Leland grabbed his arm, pulling him down quickly. They stayed silent, listening to the agitated moans of their pursuers. Crouching, Alison started for the door. Everyone followed, filing into the staircase, gently closing the door behind them. "Okay, we can rest here for a second. Anyone hurt?" Alison inquired. "I think we're all okay, but we stirred the hornet's nest out there," Velma replied. She gulped down some water. Her muscles twitched and strained. Leland sat still, breathing deeply through his nose. His large oven-mitt hands had a tremble as well. He shoved them in his pocket. Leland Jackson, 24, downtown Los Angeles, 11 a.m., 18 months earlier. Rounds flew in all directions. They lost 3 men within 5 seconds of landing. Parachuting in was stupid. The zombies waited for them to get low enough to pull them to the ground. Pure insanity. Leland, Frank, Armando, and Bruce were the only ones left out of 13 Marines. "We need to get the hell out of this shithole, man," Frank screamed as he peppered the hordes of undead closing in around him. They pushed west to an office building. Leland and Armando kept firing to make a trail. This wasn't supposed to go this way. Go in, find survivors. Frank was the first to be overwhelmed. Bruce called out as they swarmed his friend, the sound of Frank's screams ringing in his ears. They made it to the office building door, but more zombies arrived every moment. "Get to the stairs, I'll hold them off. That's an order," Bruce barked. Leland kept shooting as they entered the lobby. Armando ran to the stairwell and opened the door. The last thing Leland saw was Bruce being bum-rushed by undead. "Come on, we need to climb," Armando ordered. But, Leland stuttered. The zombies were at the door. "Snap out of it," Armando yelled. The two started to climb. The building was 50 flights. By the time they got to the roof, Leland thought he was going to die. Armando went to the edge and looked over. The streets and alleys were choked with the bastards. He pulled out a cigarette. "Want one?" Armando smiled. "I just climbed 50 flights of stairs. Hell no." "Suit yourself." "You know this was a setup, right? Making us parachute right into the heart of the city on a street in broad daylight," Armando stated. "What? No. We were sent to save people, man." "Don't be an idiot. The military blocked off all of LA County a day after the explosion. People far enough away from Ground Zero were evacuated, but those trapped, the government doesn't care about them. If we were going to save anyone, it was then, not 4 months later." "You don't think there's any survivors left?" Leland asked. "I'm sure there are, but think about it. If this is a rescue mission, why not send drones in to find signs of life? If I was a survivor, I'd be on a roof with a help me sign day one. Also, why not evacuate all the people on Catalina?" "No, something else is going on, and you need to get wise to it," Armando lectured. "To be honest, I never thought about any of that." "Well, you need to start thinking about it. Don't blindly follow orders, man. You're a tool they can throw away any time. Never forget that. Now, you'll need to get back to the rendezvous point in 3 hours. The chopper will meet you on the roof. Make sure you don't come back to this meat grinder of a city, okay?" Armando said with a smile. "Trust me, I won't." "Why are you talking like I'm the only one getting out of here?" Leland asked, confused. Armando rolled up his sleeve to reveal a nasty bite. "One of the biters punched my ticket. I was born here. Seems fitting to end here," he said grimly. "Nah, man, we have to be able to do something. We can get back to the island and they can fix you up," Leland bargained. "No, Leland, I'm done. There's no cure for this shit. When you get back, let my family know I love them." Armando let go of the short lip he was sitting on and leaned back, vanishing in an instant. He slammed headfirst into the pavement below. "Armando!" Team Save the World, El Segundo Beach, 5:45 a.m. mission day. They all sat in the top floor of the stairwell looking at each other. "How are we ever going to make it to this lab?" Leland blurted out. They all looked at Velma. "We went over this. Normally it's a 2-hour walk, but using back alleys and avoiding the undead will mean it's closer to 5. When we get there, we'll need to lure the undead out of the lab. We knew this wouldn't be easy. That's why we trained. Suck it up," her mask slipping for a moment. Alison gave Leland a raised eyebrow. He shrugged. "You're right. We did go over all this. Okay, it's 5:45. If we head out now, we should be to the lab by lunch. We'll take the alleyways as suggested. I understand that we'd all like to rest here for a while, but the sooner we get to the lab, the sooner we can get the antivirus. Let's head out," Alison ordered. "There you go again, acting like you know what's best. Look, the alleys are going to be as dangerous as the main road. The main road is faster," Burbank scolded. Alison's face twisted. They started arguing. The sound of Burbank's angry voice caused Fenn to wince. Every cutting word felt like a knife flick. His anxiety raised up into his throat. Before the end times, he'd never shot a gun, gotten in a fight, or felt the need to act tough. He was not proficient in any of these skills. Everyone saw through the bravado. They knew who pulled his strings. Burbank's voice sharpened. It cut deeper. His heart fluttered like a hummingbird's wings. Burbank's voice became white noise in his head. He pulled out his pistol, running his fingers over its hammer. Why was he fighting so hard to stay alive? He didn't want to do any of this. He should have aligned himself with Alison. Burbank murdered so many people and he'd helped. Alison was clearly a better leader, even if she'd grabbed him by the crotch that one time. I didn't deserve that, he thought. Sometimes it felt like the whole camp laughed at him. He gripped the gun and wondered if it would hurt. Just a quick pull of the trigger and his problems would go away. He could do it. Blood and brains sprayed across Alison's face. The sound of the pistol reverberated off the metal walls. Burbank stopped yelling. Half her head was missing. She slumped over. Fenn was still pointing the gun, shaking. Alison flew into a rage, smacking the gun out of his hand and slamming him back. Why? Why did you do it? She screamed. Tears erupted from both their eyes. After everything she did, She was going to fight you the whole way and put us in danger, he said. I had her under control. It wasn't your place to kill her. I'm sorry, but you're not the only one in camp with reason to kill Burbank. She beat the hell out of me. She even... More tears. You all knew what she was doing to me. You saw the damage, but you thought I deserved it, right? I was her lackey. I helped her do all the evil shit she did. So I was getting what I deserved. Now she decided to be good? Why should she get to redeem herself? After everything she did to you all? To me? I had every right to kill her. Oh God, I killed her. He dropped to his knees and bawled. Alison put her hands under his arms and brought him to his feet, embracing him. You're right. I did know, and I treated you like shit too. I'm sorry. Becoming a monster is way easier than I realized. I should have done something. We're going to forget this. The past is done. We move forward. Okay, Fenn? Yeah, that works, he replied. We've got problems. 3 undead are climbing the stairs. Who knows how many are on the way after the gunshot, Velma announced. She had taken up a spot near the top of the stairwell and heard them enter. Come on, we're getting the hell out of here. Fenn, you take the middle position. Leland, you're in back. Velma, you're with me, she ordered. Alison and Velma went side by side, shotguns at the ready. Leland patted Fenn on the back and handed him his pistol. You good? Leland asked. Fenn looked down at Burbank's body. No, but I will be. He turned and started down the stairs. Leland paused and looked at Burbank as well. Armando said to stay out of the city. It was a meat grinder. Why didn't he listen? He didn't want to die here. Could it be Alison? Wanting to make sure she was okay? He'd liked her for a while, but depression has a way of muting your life. Leland took one last look at Burbank. He prayed for her soul and headed out. Oh man, I can't wait to see how this turns out. You can catch the conclusion in the next episode. Who do you think will make it? Be sure to tell us in the comments. If you like this Portents of Fear tale, consider joining our Patreon. There's a link in the description below. Want more horrific stories? Click on one of our other episodes on your screen now. Good night, Fearlings. Sleep well, if you can.